What up, everybody? It is your boy, Josh Thomas here, aka DFS Up North, with another Fanshare Sports First Look course preview for Major Hangover Week. We have the Wyndham Championship, which literally nobody cares about. But hey, I care about it because I like to make money. And this tournament's been pretty good for me over the years. So I'm excited about this tournament. Obviously, everybody's pumped up about the awesome major that we had last week, especially for having no fans. I feel like sometimes the last few weeks since the restart haven't been as exciting without the fans there. But man, we had 6 guys coming down the stretch. Morikawa chips in, then he drives the green on 16. Like, it was just an unreal tournament, and it was a lot of fun to watch. It wasn't the world's best tournament for me from a 4-day perspective, but I absolutely smashed Showdown all week. I was on Haotong on Friday. It was all over Wolf on Sunday. So for me, Showdown was kind of my bankroll builder for the week, while 4-day kind of took a dump there with thanks Nikki Taylor. Fanshare Sports from Canada, right? And all these Canadian golfers tend to be killing my DFS lineups lately. So we are now at the Wyndham. This is the last event before the FedEx Cup playoffs. It's crazy to think that we're already at the FedEx Cup playoffs this year, but so we do have some guys, here grinding for FedEx Cup points. Brooks is, pretty safely in now, but obviously is here and wants to do well, going forward to try to, make that FedEx Cup playoffs. Tommy Fleetwood's in the mix here this week. So for overall, it's not that bad of a field. And I, for one, am, again, pretty excited for it. I love Sedgefield. I think it's a course that typically, I do like Harding Park, courses like that where 12, 13 under is a lot of fun, but I think this course really rewards good ball strikers, guys who are really good tee to green. It's not a putting fest typically, so we're looking for guys who are going to hit a lot of greens, strokes gain approach. You can really overpower this course with the driver. We've seen guys win here that find fairways, but in the last couple of years, the rough hasn't been grown up as long. Just in August, North Carolina is typically not getting as much rain, although maybe that hurricane that kind of swung through, it looked like it went a little bit north of these guys. But, so it is a great course. We'll talk a little bit about it here. But first, I wanted to talk quickly about what do we got going on over at Fanshare Sports. So, as always, Fanshare Sports is known for our ownership projections, right? And that has been incredibly important lately. And unfortunately, for me, as a guy who looks at the ownership and then tries to go the other way, the chalk has been just smashing lately. The last 2 weeks, the highest owned player, or the last 2 tournaments, the highest owned player in the field has won, which is kind of incredible. We don't see that happen, obviously, very often. So I'm going to continue to fade the ownership, the high ownership here this week. I think we're going to see it on guys like Webb Simpson, Tommy Fleetwood, especially now that like an Abe Answer has dropped out of the field. We're going to see that top tier of guys, with maybe the exception of Brooks Koepka because of how poorly he played on Sunday and that recency bias coming into play here. We're going to see that top tier, I think, get really chalky this week. I think we're going to see lots of stars and scrubs lineups. And for me, that means that, hey, now if that's the way everybody's going to go, I'm going to try to jam in a balanced lineup. And that's, this is Monday at noon here that I'm making this proclamation. But as things kind of change throughout the week, we'll see what happens, right? And we'll see what people are talking about. That's maybe the best thing about Fanshare Sport, and the thing that I love the most is that in real time, those ownerships are updating with tags on Twitter from, some of our influencers, with articles that are coming out from every site, with new podcasts and videos like this that come up, and seeing where the sentiment is, and then taking that and helping that to project the ownership. And I think that's really, really maybe an overlooked aspect of what we do here at Fanshare Sports, is that sentiment rating and seeing where, guys are, who you can click on a player and see like, hey, who's talking them up this week? And that can be, it can really tend to be profitable for you if you're using that information to now help build your lineup. So again, I love that. We have the improved lineup generator. That line that should have been huge last week, but we didn't see as big of a swing in the scoring like we thought. We thought we were going to see a big time AM scoring advantage, but the guys in the PM really scored pretty well, and it ended up being AM had a slight advantage, but it was I think less than half a stroke. Form guide with that strokes gain data is huge for finding new plays or guys that are trending upwards that maybe others aren't on. So we love that from DKDFS Strength, my GPP article every week. Leads under the radar value plays, that showdown model. Again, that's something that I use for my own showdown stuff. And if you're not a Fanshare Pro member, you can use that code Josh for 20% off and get in now for the stretch run here. It should take you all the way through the US Open here in September. So let's talk a little bit about the course. Sedgefield Country Club. It's a par 70, 71-27 in Greensboro, North Carolina. It is a classic Donald Ross design. What do we know about Don Ross is that he's a architect from the 1920s and 30s. And what he's really well known for is typically bunkering. And this course is, it's not a classic Ross in the sense that I think that the bunkering's a little bit funky. It does have the classic turtleback greens. And the interesting thing that the green size is 6,000 square feet. That's not like super big, but it's not small. It's right in the middle. It's pretty average green size for tour. But what's really interesting about the green size this year is that they are very wide, but they are not very deep. All right. So there's a definite premium placed on ball striking on these type of greens. We are back on Bermuda grass everywhere here, right? Champion Bermuda grass greens, fairways are Bermuda grass, rough is Bermuda grass. That rough is only at 2.5 inches. At least it was last year. I'm assuming that it's going to be pretty close to the same this year. But what that tells you is that, the fairways here are slightly, they're not going to be as thin as they were last week, but the rough's not very penum. And that, yes, there's a lot of trees here, but there's a lot of outs from these trees. So you can get away with spraying it a little bit. The course is very classic in the sense that it favors a big time right to left ball flight. Vast majority, anything that turns on this course for the most part, with the exception, I think one hole, everything goes right to left. So I do think that hurts a guy maybe like a Brooks Koepka who hits that fade, right? It's not something that I put a ton of stock into, but if there's a guy that, traditionally that in your head, you can go, okay, yes, like Brooks off the tee is hitting a fade every single time. How's that going to play around here? Webb Simpson lives here. He hits a fade. He's won here. He's been runner-up, I think, twice. So it's not as big of a deal as maybe some people think. I think sometimes in DFS we go down these big rabbit holes of like, you got to hit a right to left ball flight here, and if you don't hit a right to left ball flight, you don't stand a chance. And that is something that when you get into that rabbit hole, you start making or negative expected value plays. You start playing guys that aren't good plays just because they do a certain thing right. And that's something that, in that Fanshare Sports for our pro members in the trending topics page, you can see what everybody's touting for the week. And what's number one always? Strokes gained approach. But I think it's more important to scroll down and see if there's some things like that people are talking about that you can go like, you know what? That's not going to make a lot of difference. Things that we, in the past have been really popular. Like when we go to the Open Championship, everybody talks about apex ball flight. And the reality of the matter is an apex ball flight is how high you hit your ball in the air. And the reality of the matter is that it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. And again, stuff like that makes you make negative EV choices with your lineups and makes you not very profitable long-term, right? So don't chase. There are things to think about, but don't chase down these rabbit holes and be like, oh man, yeah, Josh said that you got to hit a right to left ball flight. That's the only guys I'm going to play this week. I'm going to search Twitter. I'm going to figure out who's only hitting right to left. Like, too much time on something like that. You're better off tightening your player pool and trying to really hammer a certain core of guys to be successful in DFS rather than like chasing these lineups, right? Back to the course though, number of sand bunkers 52. There's some weird placements. I don't know if it's just because it's old. There has been some new bunkering done, but there's some weirdly placed bunkers and a lot of weirdly placed bunkers that are like 20, 30 yards short of the green, meaning that like you're not going to see guys hit balls into them. And that actually is borne out. Players hit less shots from the sand at this course than any other course on tour. Don't know why Patrick Cantley's not playing here. The guy'd crush. But yeah, there's 52 bunkers. The number of water hazards are 5. There's a 16 has one of my favorite water hazards on the course. It's a par 5 that really tightens up. And if you hit it over 300 yards, you can get it to the water. So you either need to be really accurate or you actually need to lay up on that par 5. And we've seen this tournament swing on that hole a couple of times. There's also some ditches. They're not really streams. They're more like ditches that are considered water hazards that run across a couple of these greens. That again, at 71-27, but it plays a little bit longer because of that, and you're going to have to lay up on a lot of these, not on a lot, but on a couple of these holes. You're going to hear a ton this week that Webb Simpson lives on the course and named his daughter Wyndham because he won this tournament and then she was born. I think Webb's a great play, but we don't play guys because of shit like that, right? Like, that's ridiculous. Sneds shot 59 here in the first round last year and did not win, I believe, right? Yeah, JT Poston was your winner here, with Webb Simpson being, or was it 2 years ago that Brandt shot 59? I don't remember. But yeah, CT Pan blew it on 18. 18, par 5, which is awesome. I love a par 5 finishing hole because I think that the tournament can definitely swing on it. But CT didn't miss a fairway all day and ended up hitting it so far right on 18 and lost this tournament. I was thankful to see him win a couple of weeks later. But JT Poston won last year kind of out of nowhere. But he got really hot with his irons, and he's always been a pretty good putter. So he scored like crazy. Webb made a charge. Benny On was in it. Sung Jae Im was in it. But JT was the one who came out on top. Henrik Stenson, former winner here over Ollie Schneiderjan. Si Woo, who I really like this week, over Luke Donald. Davis Love III over Jason Gorp. You get a really good mix of different types of golfers here, right? So you got some guys, what really comes into play is like, okay, lots of short guys that are accurate off the tee, right? But then you got guys like Si Woo, who bombs it and isn't super accurate off the tee. Davis Love III, even as an old man, he's won here 3 times, but even as an old man, hits it pretty far. Camilo hits it pretty far. Sergio, Reed, both hit it pretty far. So there's a good mix of ways to get it done around here. When we look at the course from 2019, it played pretty far under par, right? Negative 1.825 for the week. That's your cumulative hole summary. That's almost 2 strokes under par per day. The easiest hole on the course was the par 5 fifth, played minus 0.65. Lots of eagles, 26. For the week, we had 51, which is a pretty good number of eagles. But there are some bogeys and double bogeys in play out here. That par 5 16th, right? It's a par 5, or not 16th, the par 5 15th, right? That's the one with the pond in it. Not super far. It obviously plays the 17th easiest hole, but at half a stroke under par, but there was 38 bogeys and 6 doubles on that hole. So, the front does play easier than the back. So if you're looking at, maybe trying to get a guy out there early playing well, you can find that. Round 1 played minus 2, 2 and 3 both played about a stroke and a half. And then round 4 was actually the easiest. Guys scored the best on round 4. You look at some of these average scores, right? 67.9, 68.45, 68.94. 61 guys in round 4 were under 70, right? Which is pretty impressive. Par here is 71. You had, only 7 guys over par in the final round. You have to make birdies this week. That should be the number 1 trending topic on the Fanshare Sports dashboard is birdie or better percentage. It is going to be vitally important. You need to get to 20 under. So I'm a big believer in, hey, if you don't start well, tournament's not over. You really got it. It's going to be tough. If you're not at least 2-3 under par after round 1, you're going to be in big trouble this week, I think, unless there's some sort of weather that comes in later in the week that we're not aware of yet. But right now, like as it stands, you're going to have to be in that -2, -3, -4 range after round 1 to really have a chance at contending in the tournament. Last year, the cut was -3, 80 some guys made it. There was MDF. We will not have that again. So I'm assuming, and now with top 65 and ties, I'm assuming we're going to look at like a -4, -5 cut. So again, you're going to have to get it going early. As we look at some of like how it's played, right? I said that sand strokes per round is ranked number 1 at 0.6 sand strokes per round, meaning that there are not very many sand strokes around. But there is a decent amount of rough strokes because, like I said, the fairways are fairly thin. Putts per round, pretty average. One of the higher eagle percentages on tour. Lots and lots of birdies, right? 74% birdie versus average. That ranks out as number 5 most birdies on tour here on this course. The guys who have played well here over the years, right? Well, if Webb Simpson lives on this course, he should play pretty well here, but definitely shows up as 109.9 in his average DK points, which is pretty impressive. That essentially means that he's finished top 5 every single time he's played here. Guys like Furyk have done pretty well here in 2 appearances, obviously just one on the Champions Tour, but again, it tells you that, hey, you can be long, you can be short, there's a lot of ways to get it done here. And at the end of the day, it's really about being able to score. Brooks is, obviously, hey, I said he hits it left or right. He's done pretty well in this course for doing that. Rafa's an interesting name. He's going to be, he's super cheap this week. He's been playing like garbage, but hey, he's got some decent history here at Sedgefield. Cam Davis popped here once a couple of years ago. Paul Casey's obviously played well, coming off a great performance. He might be the chalk bomb this week. I'm not sure. Si Woo, 3 appearances, done really well. Charles Howell's done well here. Ryan Moore's done well here. So definitely like some of those guys. When we look at just Donald Ross history, other courses that Don Ross has done, like Detroit Golf Club, where Nate Lashley won, but JT Poston obviously done pretty well here. Sab's done pretty well. Neiman done pretty well. Mackenzie Hughes, Webb Simpson shows up again. TPJ shows up. Denny McCarthy is I believe, a North Carolina boy, a guy who I am going to be absolutely 100% in on this week. As we look at, kind of where I think that things are going to go, I really like that mid 8K range. For a lot of my balance builds this week, that's kind of where I'm probably going to go, because people are going to jump up and play Webb. They're going to play Brooks. They're going to play Tommy. And I think that Tommy is likely going to be the chalkiest player this week. And you look back to last week's stats at Harding Park, Tommy had one good round. And after that, he was just pretty mediocre. So at 10-5, at a high ownership, I think he has a better chance of missing the cut this week than he does at playing well. So I'm intrigued by a Tommy fade this week, and I'm a Tommy truther. So, and it's hard to fade Tommy sometimes too, because he's such a good Thursday and Friday scorer. Then he falls off the ledge. So he's going to play well Thursday, Friday. He's going to pop, and then he's not going to really do anything. So he's going to make cuts, right? But then he's just going to kind of fizzle on the weekend. And DFS is such a sport of recency bias that guys are going to remember Tommy's name on the top of the leaderboard Thursday and Friday and forget all about what happened on Sunday. And a lot of that has to do with guys, they're everybody's really, really into their lineups on Thursday and Friday. And by Sunday, what happens? You're dead, right? So you don't care anymore, right? So we see a lot more recency bias, I think, from guys playing well on Thursday and Friday than they do on guys, just playing okay on Saturday and Sunday. Sleeper, late addition to the field, sponsors exemption, Christian Bezuidenhout, who I love. The guy, this is the perfect course setup for him. I really think that this is a spot for him to contend on tour and prove his worth. I'm definitely in on that. Like I said, I love Denny McCarthy, a Carolina's boy, who just puts the lights out at times. If he can get it going with his irons, I really like him. I don't know that he'd be a sleeper, but I like guys like Russell Henley this week. Guys who just, better Bermuda putters. I think, getting off a bent now, getting back to Bermuda, I think that's really going to benefit some guys. So as usual, make sure that you give us a follow on Twitter. I am at DFS Up North. You can use that code Josh for 20% off. Oh, Billy Ho. I really like Billy Ho this week too. Should be, I think he's 92. Big fan of him this week. But use that code Josh, 20% off. You can get access to my GPP article where I break down all my thoughts and strategies for the week. And then get access to our Discord where guys are crushing, and you can come play in our Fanshare Sports member league. It's always a winner take all. I think I got dead last week. Like I said, my 4-day was a big struggle. Thanks, Canada. And we'll talk to you guys soon. All right. Cheers.